Well, hi everybody, and welcome back. I am now in the new year, so back with more of the Gospel of John. And as you can tell, I'm no longer up in New York State, I'm down south, but I'm still enjoying getting together with you online and on YouTube. And I have something to show you. Look what I got for Christmas. I'm so excited. I got a Bible carrier from my son, and I got a brand new Bible to go with it. My other Bible, you remember, was held together with duct tape, so it's kind of nice to have a new one. It's kind of great, and I'm looking forward to using this one. This is it's a New Living Translation, and it has study helps in it and things, so I'm real excited about that. And today I'm going to be reading a little bit from the NIV, which is New International Version, and then a little bit from the New Living Translation because there's some interesting things there about the way things are written, depending on how it's translated. And that's one of the things that was interesting to me, something I was thinking about today. So, since this is a video of my thoughts, I'm just saying that's what I'm thinking about today. So, we're going to start with John 4. And John 4 is where where Jesus is traveling through Samaria and he meets up with the Samaritan woman at the well. I'm not going to spend a long time on that because I had done a previous Bible study, and if you go to the YouTube playlists, there is a playlist for just the Samaritan woman, and that delves a little bit more into the woman herself and that interchange that Jesus has with her. But today I got kind of looking and thinking about some different things, different aspects of this wonderful encounter that Jesus has with the Samaritan woman. So it starts in John 4, and I'm going to start reading from the New Living Translation. Okay? This is verse 1. Jesus knew the Pharisees had heard that he was baptizing and making more disciples than John. Though Jesus himself didn't baptize them, his disciples did. So he left Judea and returned to Galilee. And now I stopped for a minute there and I thought, well, why did he leave? I mean, remember he had just been up north when he called Philip, and now he's back down again south, and now he's going back up north again. It was like, okay, Jesus, but it seems to me like the Pharisees were already trying to push him. They were not happy with his ministry and the healings and the miracles and so on, and I don't think he was quite ready to confront them. He was saving that kind of for the right time. God is all about timing, isn't he? Like, I always think I know when God should do things for me, but he seems to have a totally different time understanding than I do. He has a different way of working things out for our benefit. And sometimes when we think it's the right time, it's not. So Jesus knew this was not the right time to confront the Pharisees. And they were going to come to him and say, John was baptizing. He had a lot of followers. Now a lot of those followers are coming to you, Jesus, and we're getting a little nervous, So Jesus didn't want to get into it right then with them. So he left Judea and returned to Galilee. This means he left the area in the south or the midsection where John was baptizing, and he traveled north through Samaria to Galilee. And we said in the other study when we looked at the Samaritan woman, most Jews did not travel through Samaria. What happened is after centuries before, when there was the Assyrians had taken over, they had an invasion there, and they had conquered that Samarian area, and they brought in a lot of foreigners, and the foreigners intermarried with a lot of the Jews, and so therefore they were considered to be a mixed race, impure, if you will, as to the other Jews. And most Jews, when they had to go north, they went around Samaria, and they just avoided that whole area because they thought this is an impure group of people. It's interesting that Jesus doesn't look at it that way. He doesn't think this group is pure and this group is impure. He knows we're all impure. So he goes right straight through Samaria, which would not have been the common way to do it at that point. So he goes right through Samaria, on his way to Galilee. Eventually, he came to the Samaritan village of Sychar, near the field that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired from the long walk, sat wearily beside the well for noontime, about noontime. Soon a Samaritan woman came to draw water, and Jesus said to her, "Please, give me a drink." He was alone at the time because the disciples had gone to the village to buy some food. The woman was surprised, for Jews refused to have anything to do with Samaritans. And she said to Jesus, "You're a Jew, and I'm a Samaritan woman. Why are you asking me for a drink?" So here's the thing. First of all, she's there at noon. Most women would have gone for water early in the day. So she's avoiding people. She's got some kind of a reputation in town. She doesn't want to be there with the other women, which they would have seen that as a social time, to get together with their friends. They all go for water at the same time. But she was ashamed somehow and did not go in the morning with everybody else. She went at noon, which should have been in the heat of the day. Second of all, Jesus was a Jew, and most Jews didn't even travel through Samaria, let alone talk to the Samaritans. And then thirdly, it's a woman. She's a woman, and he's a man, and he's alone, and it would have been very uncommon for her to address her, for him to address her when she was alone at the well, let alone ask her for a drink. So she says, "What are you asking me for the drink for? I'm shocked that you would ask me, a Samaritan woman." Jesus replied, this is verse 10, "If you only knew the gift God has for you and who you are speaking to, you would ask me, and I would give you living water." What a promise. What a promise, living water. But she doesn't get it, that he's speaking figuratively. He's speaking in spiritual language when he talks about living water. It's kind of the way he did when he talked to Nicodemus in the last passage. He was speaking spiritually, figuratively. You must be born again. It must affect your life. You must have a new outlook, new everything when you become a disciple of Jesus. And Nicodemus didn't understand it either. He took it in a literal way. What do you mean? How can you go back in your womb and be born again? That's the literal translation. The figurative is, spiritually reborn, a whole new thing. And that's what he's saying to her. I'm not talking about this water. I'm talking about living water. So he's reaching down for her spirit. He's speaking in spiritual language. "But sir," she says, now she's going to respond in physical language, "you don't have a rope or a bucket, and this well is very deep. Where would you get this living water? And besides, do you think you're greater than our ancestor Jacob, who gave us this well? How can you offer better water than he and his sons and his animals enjoy?" Jesus replied, "Anyone who drinks of this water will soon become thirsty again. But those who drink the water I give will never be thirsty again. It becomes a fresh, bubbling spring within them, giving them eternal life." I love the notion of that, especially during a time of pandemic when we're kind of stuck inside, a lot of us, and we're kind of alone more than we have been. I know I have not been doing a lot of socializing, some, but with a mask on and far away from people, no hugs, all of that. And what Jesus is saying here is very interesting. He says, if you're going to depend on other people to give you a spiritual boost, then you're going to get thirsty for that over and over and over and over again. But if you lean on me, if you're looking to me to quench that spiritual thirst, to make you feel like somebody, to be important, to be valuable, if you're looking at me to give you that, no problem, you'll never be thirsty again. You'll never search after that. So many people thirst for some kind of validation in the wrong places. And there's nothing wrong with socializing, but if that's what you have to do in order to make you feel like you're worthwhile, that's wrong. So Jesus is saying his love is just living water that will never leave you. And that is such a beautiful image. A beautiful image. So she likes it too. She says in verse 15, "Please, sir, give me this water. I will never be thirsty again, and I won't have to come here to get water." So now this is when Jesus goes right to the spiritual heart of the matter. "Go and get your husband," Jesus told him. "I don't have a husband," the woman replied. Jesus said, "You're right. You don't have a husband." Yep. So he knows all about her already. "You have had 5 husbands, and you aren't even married to the man you're living with now. You certainly spoke the truth." "Sir," the woman said, "you must be a prophet. So tell me, why is it that you Jews insist that Jerusalem is the only place of worship, while we Samaritans claim it is here, at Mount Gerizim, where our ancestors worshipped?" She's trying to change the subject, I think. She's asking him a theological question here because she knows he's a Jew and he has seen right into the heart of her life. And she's like, I'm backing off from that. I'm going to ask him a question about where's the right place to worship. And Jesus gives her an answer because, of course, because they were a mixed race and because they were looked down upon from the Jews, they didn't go to Jerusalem to worship the way the Jews were. They set up their own place of worship on this Mount Gerizim. And all the ancestors for hundreds of years had found that as the place of worship. I love Jesus' answer. This is such a beautiful, wonderful, deep answer. He says, "Believe me, dear woman, the time is coming when it will no longer matter whether you worship the Father on this mountain or in Jerusalem. You Samaritans know very little about the one you worship, while we Jews know all about him, for salvation comes through the Jews. But the time is coming, indeed it is here now, when true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth. The Father is looking for those who will worship him that way, for God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth." I love that. All the rules, all the you got to be here, you got to dress this way, you got to wear a hat, you got to do that, gone. He says, "Indeed, the time is coming and it's here right now." Jesus says, "I'm here to fulfill all the laws, so you don't have to worry anymore about where you're going to worship or exactly what words you're going to say or what you're wearing or whether you're in the right place or if you have the right words to say." God doesn't care about that. He says true worshipers worship the Father in spirit and in truth. Now, what do we mean by that? I was thinking a lot about this. God is spirit, so he isn't tied to any one place. He's spirit. He connects with you on a spiritual level. So where you are really doesn't matter, as long as your spirit, if you allow your spirit to be involved, if you allow the essence of who you are as a person to connect with God. Not just up here some facts that you know about God or some prayers you learned as a child. No, we're talking about your spirit, the inner part of you that's so completely you, the part of you that responds to nature, or the part of you that responds with love, the part of you that has compassion, the part of you that has forgiveness, the part of you that is just the essence of you. That's where you need to connect with God, because he is spirit and he connects with you on a spirit level. But then it's not just spirit, it has to be truth. So truth matters. Worshiping God in truth. What does that mean to me? I don't know. I guess it means you're genuine. It means you're authentic. It means you don't pick any old God, but you worship the one true God because there's truth there. I don't know. I've been to a lot of worship services and I've left not feeling like I was a genuine, authentic worshiper. Like I was kind of half there, you know? And I've been to other worship services where I was fully present in the moment and connecting and worshiping in a true sense of the word. That's the kind of worship that God really desires from us. That we would set aside what's going on up in here. Oh, I've got to get coffee on the way home. Oh, I've got to get my groceries later. Oh, I've got laundry to do at home. You know, set aside all those things and connect with God. And whether that's done in a church or whether it's done sitting by a pond or whether it's here in my bedroom and just focusing on the Word of God or spending time in prayer, all of those things, there isn't about a place. It isn't about I can only worship God at a church or I can only worship God in a particular room or setting. He's saying God is spirit. He's everywhere. You just connect with your spirit, but you got to be in the truth. You can't hide things from God. You can't say somebody else's prayer with your cognitive area, with your brain, and not let it touch your heart. Because that's not true, is it? It's not truth. We don't have to be politically and socially correct when we talk to God. We can just be ourselves, can't we? Well, the woman has quite a response to this. She says right away that she knows something of the scripture. She says, I know Messiah is coming, the one who is called the Christ. And when he comes, he will explain everything to us. Then Jesus told her, I am the Messiah. This is why I wanted to read this version, the New Living Translation, because it's very specific. He says, I am the Messiah. Other versions don't translate it exactly this way. The New American Standard says, I am he, the one speaking to you. So he never says that he's Messiah, but he says, I am the one. And I think one has a capital O, so it does correspond to that Messiah name. The NIV said, I, the one speaking to you, I am he. The New King James says, I who speak to you am he. And the English Standard Version says, I who speak to you am he. And most of them say something similar to that. Only this NLT, New Living Translation, uses the actual word Messiah. I am the Messiah. I'm fascinated by this I am statement because I am is the name God gave to himself in the book of Exodus. I am. And part of John's proofs, remember he's bringing in all these things to show that Jesus is not just a man, that he's God himself. And here is another proof. Jesus calls himself I am. I am the one. I am he. I am Messiah. And in John's gospel, I had looked it up, there's either 7 or 8 different times in John's gospel where he will be quoting Jesus with an I am statement, where Jesus is actually using the language that the Jews would have understood as proclaiming himself to be God, because he's using I am. And I am was God's name for himself. We're going to be looking more at that the next time because I've been doing some research on that and I've been thinking about it and just kind of writing some things down about that because it's kind of just fascinating to me. The I am statements from the Old Testament and how Jesus is hearkening back to that as he makes these I am statements about himself. So he equates himself as God. And that makes him a whole lot more powerful than just a prophet who did a lot of miracles. It makes him above everything else, above all other gods, above all the angels, above everybody. So that was kind of what I was thinking about today. I hope you have had a wonderful holiday season, and we'll get together again in a day or two, and I'm going to be looking some more at that I am statement, and through the Gospel of John, we'll be with a little magnifying glass looking for the I ams, and I think we'll find like 7 or 8 of them. So, first one here, John 4, I am the one. I am Messiah. In other words, he's saying the one the Old Testament scriptures prophesied about. Here I am. I'm the one. I am, I am. All right, have a wonderful day for yourself, and I'll see you all soon.